What's up, people? My name is Cash, and this is officially a video. Now, I remember that laughter video I made a few weeks ago. So in the 60s, some Yale psychologist gave a bunch of clients, the victims, shock. I remember that part of the video when I was talking about a certain experiment where people were nervously laughing during it, and I talked about it as if it was the main purpose of the experiment. Good. I think I'm talking to you like this is a Dora sketch. This isn't a Dora sketch. I'm actually watching you through your window, so I'm like the next Santa Claus, guys. Now, do you remember how Jesus Christ died on the cross for all of our sins? Because, of course, we were all there. How else would we have known? Obviously, God sent us back in time to see Jesus' feet get impaled and his hands get impaled on the cross. Clearly, we have all seen it. Anyway, this video is not about that. This video is about the Milgram Experiment part of my video. I incorrectly said something. How do I incorrectly say something? I guess it's like if my delivery on a joke is stale, which is very common for me. I'm not used to saying jokes without people laughing in general, or at least people saying, oh, your jokes suck. I wouldn't mind having at least some attention, you know? And I guess that's how bad internet people are born, saying stuff like that, but I promise you I am not that. I am going way off topic for this video. Okay, now to the main part of the video. And the only thing I did incorrectly in the video was to state that the purpose of the Milgram Experiment was to observe people nervously laughing and what situations people nervously laugh at. That's not the purpose of the experiment. It just happened to happen during the experiment. Do you get what I'm saying here? Now, the reason why I blindly believe the purpose of the assessment was to observe people nervously laughing was because of the fact that the source I got it from wasn't saying anything else about the experiment, so I put one together and got three. I did not mean to spread false information about this kind of stuff on the internet, but I did learn my lesson. I'll put a better source on nervous laughing in this video's description in case you want to learn more about that. I'll also put this source in the previous video's description, but after I upload this video. Now, the main question is, did I know this before I uploaded the last video? Yes, I did. I wanted to make this video extra special, so I left it in. The experiment was called the Milgram Experiment, like I said before, named after the psychologist at Yale University in the 1960s. It was said that his influence on the experiment was him wondering how did the Nazis, or at least the Germans in general, that sounds kind of, that was off the tongue so well. German general. How did the Nazis or Germans in general follow Hitler's commands? It must have been some special way he could have done that to where people believed that it was at least a morally good thing to do, which is why they did it, right? Anyways, the experiment went like this. There was this shocker asking questions to a learner who was in an electric chair. Whenever a learner answered something wrong, the shocker shocked the learner. The more wrong answers said, the higher the voltage will be. The voltage goes up by 15 volts. And of course, the shockers were always willing to shock the obvious person in pain in the other room that the shocker cannot see, but only hear. And speaking of shockers, guess what the results were? It's shocking. I said the joke in the last video, come on. It turned out that 2/3 of the shockers turned their shockers all the way up at the end. Therefore, people can easily be influenced to willingly commit war crimes in the Middle East. But what do other people think convinced Nazis to follow Hitler's commands? To avoid bias, I asked, of course, Google, the #1 professional. This article says how Hitler rose to power, and it seemed like the only way Hitler rose to power was the time period post-World War I. Germany's inflation was at an all-time high, and Hitler was like, you know what? If I team up in the Nazi party, which is full of racist fascists. It's hard to pronounce the word without cursing, but I really should call them that, shouldn't I?
Fascists.
Oh, fascists.
Fascists,
got it. As I was saying, Hitler was like, oh, I could just end up with the Nazis, who are racist fascists. And that's what he did. He joined that, and he became their spokesperson, and despite his bad conversational skills, he managed to become a good spokesperson. Just like me. So this is the documentary about the Milgram Experiment and what the psychologist got from it. This reveals a vital detail I should have put in the beginning of the video, but I didn't do so to add a plot twist. Plot twist of the century. Some guy on the internet is wrong about something again. I watched this documentary and realized that the psychologist's conclusion is oversimplified, and this changes everything. So the two shockers were being talked to by this guy.
I should like to tell both of you a little about the memory project.
And he basically said, we're going to do this experiment to decide whether or not doing disciplinary actions to teach somebody is a good thing, or at least whether or not it helps.
The theory is that people learn things correctly whenever they get punished for making a mistake. But actually, we know very little about the effect of punishment on learning, because almost no truly scientific studies have been made of it in human beings.
They're like, I'll help you complete this experiment by shocking this helpless person in an electric chair in the name of science. Yes, science. The shockers and you guys have no idea what the real purpose of the experiment was until behind the scenes when the guy who held the experiment goes,
I'd like to tell you a little more about the experiment. First of all, the gentleman in there was not being shocked.
Dude, all a prank, bro. Look at the cameras. People looking at you through those camera lenses. Dude, all a prank, bro. So yeah, plot twist. Epic plot twist. The shocker wasn't actually getting shocked. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume that the shockers were shocking the learner without any malicious content. Is that right? Am I at least in the ball field, or am I home? At home recording a video. Yes, I am. Anyways, yeah, what conclusion can be made from all this? That people can be easily manipulated if they think what they're doing is a good thing, even though in reality is a bad thing. That manipulation works, and how I just described the word manipulation, except in a longer sentence like this one. That seems to be the most rational reason for how Hitler rose to power and why anti-vaxxers exist.
The results, as I observe them in the laboratory, are disturbing. They raise the possibility that human nature cannot be counted on to insulate men from brutality and inhumane treatment.
What? In what way do you mean human nature? Do you mean the nature of feeling good, or doing evil, or doing evil to feel good? I'm pretty sure this experiment could be evidence that, oh, man is bad. But I would think it was a good example of people can be manipulated easily.
A substantial proportion of people do what they are told to do, irrespective of the content of the act and without limitations of conscience.
Based on the experiment you did, that's flat out wrong, dude. I mean, yeah, the shockers did shock people, but they definitely thought of why, making a positive contribution to science. They thought they were contributing to helping observers and psychologists really think about whether or not harsh methods can really get the person into learning something, or could it just kill them, or both. I guess this documentary put the psych and psychiatrist. Yeah, they didn't shock this person just because. They didn't just wake up in the morning and think, you know what, I think I'm gonna shock somebody this morning. I kinda have this urge to shock this person. I mean, imagine if the experiment was real and and the learner was actually getting shocked. If anyone were to keep doing that, that would be very, very concerning.
Excuse me, teacher, we'll have to discontinue the experiment.
Alright, you can stop now, and what the f***? Dude, stop. The learner's already unconscious. No. So if I were to put these balloons on my arm, I'll look more buff? Well, with a shot. Security, get this madman. Oh, shoot. Oh, this is a JPEG. Sir, they're all JPEGs. They're all JPEGs! Our technology isn't even that advanced yet. Oh, so I thought you were a big, buff guy. So you couldn't just take this guy down? Sure, that's insane. We can't be in the same frame. Then do it off screen. God, do I have to say everything to you? Oh, shoot, you're right. The reason why this experiment was so controversial is because of Milgram's conclusion based on the experiment. The experiment itself isn't necessarily bad. The results are not necessarily disturbing at all. It's what Milgram got out of the experiment that made it very controversial. For the longest time, people thought, oh, this is evidence that man is trash. I mean, man is literal trash because we're throwing trash into the atmosphere, that CO2 crap that plants are breathing in. But yeah, they weren't just told to shock somebody. If that were the case, then the experiment wouldn't have happened in the first place, now wouldn't it? Oh look, an article that proves the exact point I'm making. It's almost as if I used this exact article earlier, before I did that one part about proving the psychiatrist's conclusion wrong. That's because I did. What I would suggest to you is to watch the documentary from beginning to 15 minutes in, and then watch the conclusion 40 minutes in. It's only a 45-minute documentary in case you want to watch it, but I'm not stopping you. You can go watch whatever the heck you want. I'm going to put the videos and sources in the description in case you're too lazy to Google it yourself. Ugh. Sorry it took so long to make. I was going to make a totally different video on something totally different. And that totally different video on something totally different is being made. I just have to record it again. They were going to be done by the end of last week, but then I was like, these jokes were really bad. I didn't really like them. But here we are, me doing a different video as filler for the next video. So I will see you then. Goodbye.